Our next presenter is Pam Leo, and Pam believes that learning to read is a human right, which, again, you can't argue with that. She has worked with families for over 40 years. She is a family literacy advocate, activist, and author of Connection Parenting. She is founder of the Book Fairy Pantry product, whose mission is no child with no books. And when we talk about passion, Pam's passion is just completely obvious from the moment you meet her. I think one of the best facts about her is she talks about at age 12, she walked into a library and she was in heaven. Please help me welcome Pam Leo.
Thank you. Tonight, I'm going to read you a story. The Book Report, the story of the Book Fairy Pantry Project by Pam Leo. Once upon a time, about a year ago, I wrote a letter from my newborn great-grandson, baby David, asking his parents to read to him every day. That letter turned into a poem I titled, Please Read to Me. Since I don't usually write poetry, I considered this poem a gift, and I began Googling family literacy sites to see who might want my poem. I was stunned by the statistics I found on every site. 2/3 of the 15.5 million children living in poverty do not have even one book to call their own. I could not bear the thought of 10 million children going to bed every night without a bedtime story. I too grew up in poverty in Aroostook County in a home with no books. But I did learn to read. Being able to read has allowed me to become an independent scholar in human development, a writer, a published author, and the founder of a literacy project, all without a college degree. Today, 1 in 4 children in this country is not learning to read. A quote, "There are 2 primary choices in life, to accept conditions as they exist or to accept responsibility for changing them," by Dennis Waitley. I could not accept these conditions, so I chose to change them. I learned that the 2 strongest indicators that children will arrive at school ready to learn to read are the number of books in the home and being read to daily from birth. Therefore, children living in poverty with no books are at the highest risk for not learning to read. I believe that learning to read is a human right. Whether or not children learn to read will determine their quality of life and their standard of living. I knew from all my Goodwill shopping that there was no shortage of donated books. There are more than enough free books for the 10 million children living in poverty. And then I thought, what if, instead of donating their children's books to the Goodwills, families who have lots of books donated them to the families with no books? But how could we get the books from the families who have them to the families who need them? And the light bulb went off. Food pantries. If parents can't afford to buy enough food, parents can't afford to buy children's books, even at Goodwill. Every community has a food pantry. That's it. We have a perfect distribution system already in place. I started talking to food pantries, and they all said yes. Though most early literacy projects focus on giving books to children, I focus on giving the children's books to the parents. Here's why. For 18 years, I taught my Connection Parenting classes to incarcerated parents. What they taught me is that all parents desperately want to do for their own children. I want all parents to have the experience of picking out books for their children. I want all children to experience being given books by their parents. This is how we will change the literacy culture in the homes of families living in poverty. When the elder residents of my building, Deering Pavilion, heard these statistics, they wanted to help me help the children. They raised $350 for me to purchase 1,400 books at the summer 4 for $1 children's book sale at Goodwill. We cleaned and donated them to the food pantries to get them started feeding children's bodies and minds. Suddenly, this project was really happening. So when my friend Lisa heard about my project and offered for it to become an initiative under the umbrella of her nonprofit, Families for Conscious Living, I jumped at the chance. Even though I set up this project to be all donations and all volunteers so it would never need funding, I needed funding for a logo, a website, and promotional materials. I requested and received a grant for $2,000 from my colleagues at the Alliance for Transforming the Lives of Children. One of the best parts of this project is all the volunteer opportunities for everyone, from my 4-year-old granddaughter to my 82-year-old mother. Elders are cleaning and sorting children's books, and children are helping children to end illiteracy by donating their outgrown books. I chose to make this a bottom-up grassroots movement because babies are being born into poverty every minute. Their futures will be directly impacted by how quickly we can get books into the hands of their parents. In one day, I can get books to many families with babies and young children through our partners at WIC, at Maine Families, the free lunch programs, and the food pantries. So far, no one has refused to give out our cleaned, donated, gently used free books. People often ask me, what about parents who can't read to their children? The Portland Public Library has been our biggest supporter. They are ready and willing to offer my free family story sharing classes for both reading and non-reading parents, so all parents can learn a new way to share books with their children. Illiteracy is a disease of poverty. The way out of poverty is literacy, and the currency of literacy is children's books. Breaking the cycle of poverty-caused illiteracy will require what I call community-supported literacy. These are my community partners so far. So, the book report is, we got this, baby David. We have free books. We have a distribution system. We have volunteers. We have free library classes. We can make all children have a happier ever after for free. The beginning.